Through 5 games, the Tar Heels rank 128th in points allowed per game. Do you realize there's only 136 NCAA Division I football programs in FBS?
We're talking about Bill Belichick. He's working toward being the worst coach in college football history.
5 games, that's all it took. 5 games into Bill Belichick's college coaching career, and we're getting reports that the dysfunction of this team would even make the 2023 New York Jets blush. I mean, we're talking divided locker rooms, coaches who won't talk to their own players, parents being told to stay away, and a program that one source literally described as an unstructured mess with no culture and no organization. Guys, let me tell you how bad this is. I mean, in this very video, I'm gonna take you through the entire dysfunction of Bill Belichick's college career, and the craziest part of all is I am not going to mention probably the biggest problem of all in this entire video because we've covered it so much recently. We are not going to bring up Bill Belichick's 24-year-old girlfriend in this video at all. And if I do, you can flame me in the comment section. And it's so crazy because this is Bill Belichick we're talking about, the man who won 6 Super Bowls, the guy who built a dynasty in New England brick by brick through discipline, structure, and eliminating distractions. Now, according to a bombshell report that just dropped from WRAL in Raleigh, North Carolina, sources are calling his program an unstructured mess with no culture and no organization. This is their words, not mine. And trust me, this is just the beginning, because by the time we get through everything that's been going on in Chapel Hill, you're going to understand why people are genuinely questioning if Bill Belichick even makes it to year 2. And stick with me because this story gets wild. So real quick, before we get to today's video, this video is sponsored. We've been on a generational run on Prize Picks. We hit on 5 of our picks on Sunday and made over $1,000, and you guys have been blowing up my inbox on Instagram letting me know about it. I'm personally really happy we're all winning big, and I have a wild play for Thursday Night Football. So first, make sure you sign up for Prize Picks using my promo code Mikerophone so you can get $50 in plays when you make a play of $5 or more. And then follow this crazy pick for Thursday Night Football. I'm gonna try to turn $20 into $350. I have Devontae Smith's longest reception being at least 15 yards. Dallas Goedert has been on a touchdown streak. I think he's gonna get another one in this game against the Giants. I think Jackson Dart will be good for at least 1 pass TD, and this is the riskiest one of all. I think AJ Brown scores a touchdown in this game. He's had a conversation with Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. They've been trying to figure out a way to get him more involved. If you think that's too risky, feel free not to include it, but I'm including it myself. I'm gonna have additional plays on Thursday in my Discord server. If you want to check that out, click on the WAP link in the description down below. We've been profiting on a daily basis, and there's baseball picks in there as well. And thank you, Prize Picks, for today's sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? To give you an idea of how bad things are, listen to what Paul Feinbaum had to say about this situation.
He's working toward being the worst coach in college football history. That's how bad he is. Seemed like a good idea at the time, but right now, who in their right mind would want to go play for him?
If you've been following college football this season, you know that the Bill Belichick experiment at North Carolina has been rough. I mean, we covered some of this in our last video about the whole situation, but things have gotten so much worse so fast that we need to talk about what's really happening behind closed doors in Chapel Hill. UNC is currently 2-3, which doesn't sound that terrible until you look at who they've beaten and who they've lost to. Their 2 wins were against Charlotte and Richmond, not exactly powerhouses. Their 3 losses, TCU beat them 48-14, UCF destroyed them 34-9, and just this past Saturday, Clemson embarrassed them 38-10. We're talking about a program that through 5 games ranks 128th in points per game out of 136 FBS teams. Pick any stat right now and it's probably not good.
You're just watching it, they just don't seem like there's any pulse, like there's no excitement. They almost feel like it's the inevitable. We're going to lose, but by how much?
But here's what's really important and what we're going to dig into today. It's not just that they're losing, it's how they're losing and what's happening inside that program. And thanks to an incredible piece of reporting from WRAL where they spoke to parents of current UNC players, members of the staff, and people in the athletic department, we're finally getting a look at what's really going on. And man, it is not pretty. Let's start with the biggest bombshell from this report. Multiple sources told WRAL that the results on the field are a product of a divided locker room, a disorganized coaching staff, and a failure to communicate. Listen to that again. A divided locker room, disorganized coaching, communication failure. These are the exact opposite of everything Bill Belichick supposedly stands for. One source with firsthand knowledge of the program told WRAL, and I'm quoting here, "It's an unstructured mess. There's no culture, no organization. It's a complete disaster." Those are strong words coming from someone inside the program. But it gets more specific and honestly more concerning. A parent of a current UNC player spoke to WRAL under the condition of anonymity because they're literally afraid of retaliation. Did you think about that for a second? Parents are literally scared to speak publicly about what's happening to their sons. This parent said, "It's all starting at the top and the boys are being affected. I don't fault the players. I fault the leadership that created this toxic environment. There's an individualistic mindset. The boys are young and they're feeding into it." Now I want you to remember who Bill Belichick is. This is the guy who preached "do your job" for 24 years. The guy who would trade a Pro Bowl player in a heartbeat if they became a distraction or put themselves above the team. Randy Moss, gone. Jamie Collins, traded. The Patriot way was all about team over individual. And yet here we are with parents saying there's an individualistic mindset destroying the locker room. So how did this divide happen? Well, when Bill Belichick got hired in December of 2024, he and his general manager Michael Lombardi brought in a ton of new players. We're talking about 70 new players between the portal and their high school signing class. 70! That's essentially an entire new roster. And according to sources, a divide organically formed between the Mac Brown recruited players and the transfers that Bill Belichick brought in. Now look, it's common in college football for transfer players to get paid more than guys who stay. That's just the reality of NIL and the transfer portal. But multiple sources say Belichick and his staff haven't done enough to unite these players. Instead, they made it worse through preferential treatment. And we're not talking about small stuff here. According to several sources, some Belichick recruited transfers have preferential parking for themselves and their parents, as well as more tickets for games. Two names have come up repeatedly, Kamori House and Thaddeus Dixon, who both played for Bill Belichick's son, Steve, at Washington. Dixon's family has field access on game day, something that no other family is believed to have. But here's what really got me. There's a board in the UNC football facility that lists people who have missed workouts in class. Some Belichick recruited players repeatedly show up on the list but have not had their playing time affected. Let me say that again. Players are missing workouts in classes. Their names are going up on a board for everyone to see and nothing happens. They keep playing. This is pretty much these players rubbing into their teammates' faces with the fact that they have preferential treatment. And the craziest part is this is Bill Belichick we're talking about. The same guy who would bench players for being 1 minute late to a meeting in New England. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out how on earth and why on earth Malcolm Butler was benched for the New England Patriots Super Bowl loss versus the Philadelphia Eagles. The man was literally a Super Bowl hero versus the Seattle Seahawks. For the love of God, I don't know why he got benched. And here you have some of your students that are missing class that still get to play. I mean, what's going on? But wait, it somehow gets even worse. Remember how I said there's a failure to communicate? This part is genuinely shocking. According to sources, the players who chose to stay at UNC after Mac Brown's firing didn't meet Belichick for weeks after he was hired. Weeks! These kids decided to stay and give the new coach a chance and he didn't even meet with them. And parents? Forget about it. A parent of a current UNC player told WRAL, "There's been no communication with coaches and parents, period. None. Zero. Zilch. Not one email from a coach. One text. Phone call. Nothing." Under Mac Brown, players had relationships with the coaches. They had their phone numbers. If a coach felt something was going on with a player, they might call the parent. That's normal. That's how you build trust with families who are sending their sons to play for you. But under Belichick, it's been complete radio silence. And it's not just Belichick, it's his staff too. Multiple sources said that Brian Belichick, the defensive backs coach, is very personable. But Steve Belichick, the defensive coordinator, according to one source, he has not talked or had one conversation with most of the guys on defense. They don't even have his number. I can't imagine how this guy wouldn't be personable. I mean, come on! But it's absolutely insane. The defensive coordinator hasn't talked to most of his defensive players. They don't even have his phone number. How do you coordinate a defense when you don't even talk to your players? How does that even work? Now we need to talk about Michael Lombardi because he keeps coming up in this report and not in a good way. Lombardi is Belichick's GM at UNC, the very first hire he made. Lombardi's only listed college experience is as a recruiting coordinator for UNLV from 1981 to 1984. That's it. Everything else has been NFL scouting and executive work. Multiple sources described Lombardi as rude and nasty. One source straight up told WRAL that nobody likes him, and Lombardi has had some issues managing the quarterback situation. They brought in Ryan Brown from Purdue through the transfer portal. According to sources, Brown was asked to leave after spring practice. Lombardi tried to rescind Brown's NIL money. Brown got a lawyer involved and reached a settlement. I mean, that's a mess. Then they brought in Gio Lopez from South Alabama after spring. He was named the starter and is making $2 million this season. $2 million! In 4 games before getting injured, Lopez threw for 430 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. That's not exactly $2 million production. Meanwhile, Max Johnson, who was the starter last year under Mac Brown, hasn't been making any NIL money from UNC. Think about the message that sends to the locker room. The guy who is here, who stuck around after the coaching change, who knows the program, he's getting nothing. But we'll pay $2 million for a transfer who threw for 430 yards in 4 games. Now, if all this wasn't bad enough, we need to talk about what happened this week with Drake May, and this one is just baffling on every level. Drake May is arguably the greatest quarterback in UNC history. His family is Carolina royalty. His dad played QB there in the 1980s. His brother Luke hit one of the most famous shots in UNC basketball history to send them to the Final Four in 2017. Drake set multiple records at Carolina and was drafted 3rd overall by the Patriots in 2024, which resulted in this cool moment where Bill Belichick actually scouted him on the Pat McAfee show.
Well, I think that's certainly a top need for him. It's quarterback, tackle, and wide receiver. Drake compares himself a lot to Josh Allen. He has been doing that for quite a while. A very talented kid, good size, runs well, has a good arm. Just, he hasn't played very much.
I mean, Drake May is everything you'd want in a program ambassador, and this past Sunday night, May had the best game of his young NFL career. I mean, this was the young man's coming out party. The Patriots upset the undefeated Bills 23-20 on Sunday Night Football, and honestly, this wasn't a fluke. I mean, Drake May made some beautiful throws. He even had a huge conversion while he was practically getting sacked. He went 22 of 30 for 273 yards, engineered a 4th quarter comeback, and looked like a future star. It was a huge moment for a UNC alum on the biggest stage. And UNC social media team? Crickets. Nothing. 0 posts about May's performance. On Monday morning, Ross Martin of 247 Sports reported that according to sources inside the UNC football program, it is a directive from the staff, from Bill Belichick, to not tweet or retweet anything that's Patriots related. That's why they didn't post anything about Drake May's huge win. Think about the absurdity of this. Drake May is one of your best recruiting tools. He's a top 5 pick that's a starting QB in the NFL. He's from a legendary UNC family. He just beat the Bills on national TV. And you can't post about it because the head coach is mad at the organization that drafted him? The backlash was immediate and fierce, rightfully so. And do you know who did tweet about Drake May? Mac Brown, the coach that UNC fired to hire Belichick. Brown posted, "So happy for Drake. Fun to watch him win last night in Buffalo like he did so many times at UNC. Love and appreciate you, my friend. Keep it rolling." The optics couldn't be any worse. I mean, they fired coaches celebrating your greatest recent player while the current coach is banning mentions of him because of a personal beef with the Patriots organization. After the story blew up, UNC finally posted about Drake May around 10 a.m. Monday morning, but the damage was already done. Everyone saw what happened. Sources confirmed to multiple outlets that 2 separate sources within the North Carolina football program described the directive as the social media team being told to not post Patriots highlights, a span that lasted from September 15th until the morning of October 6th. And here's the kicker. While they weren't posting about Drake May, they were still posting about other former UNC players in the NFL. Javonte Williams scored touchdowns for the Cowboys on Sunday, and UNC's account posted those highlights. So it's not that they don't post NFL highlights, they just don't post Patriots highlights. This all goes back to Belichick's feud with Patriots owner Robert Kraft. In September, Belichick confirmed he banned Patriots scouts from UNC facilities.
It's clear that I'm not welcome there around their facility, and so I'm welcome in ours.
Look, I get that Belichick and Kraft didn't part on great terms. That's well documented. But you know who had nothing to do with that? Drake May. You know who your program desperately needs to keep engaged for recruiting purposes? Drake May. This is like cutting off your nose to spite your face, except the nose you're cutting off is one of the most valuable assets your program has. So let's take a step back and look at what we have here. 5 games into Belichick's coaching career, UNC ranks 128th out of 136 FBS teams in scoring. They've been outscored 120-33 by Power 4 opponents. The locker room is divided. The coaching staff isn't communicating with players or parents. Players are getting preferential treatment based on who recruited them. The GM is universally disliked. There's no accountability for missed workouts and classes, and they're banning social media posts about arguably their greatest recent player. At Saturday's Clemson game, the stadium began to empty at halftime. Just a few weeks earlier, the place was buzzing with optimism. Now fans are leaving before the game is even over. That's how fast that this is cratered. And remember, UNC's buyout for Bill Belichick would be $20 million at the end of this year. That's not cheap. But we're also talking about a program that's becoming a national punchline. How much is that costing them in recruiting, in donor support, in program reputation? After the Clemson loss, even Belichick acknowledged issues. It's a lack of concentration, and part of that is coaching too. So I'll take my share of the responsibility. But taking responsibility and fixing the problems are two different things. One of the most telling quotes from the WRAL report came from a source who said, "The disconnect comes from this is not NFL. There are ways to operate in the NFL that you can't do in college." And that's the heart of it right there. Belichick built his entire career on NFL systems and structure. In the NFL, you have grown men making millions of dollars. You have a union. You have veterans who can police the locker room. You don't have to talk to parents. You don't have to recruit. You can just coach football and manage personalities. College is completely different. These are 18 to 22-year-old kids. Their parents are involved and should be involved. You have to recruit 365 days a year. You have to build culture from scratch every single year with new players coming in. You can't just trade for the players you need. You have to convince teenagers and their families that your program is the right choice. And when your program is making headlines for toxic culture, divided locker rooms, and petty feuds with NFL teams that prevent you from promoting your best players, yeah, good luck with that sales pitch. The sad reality is that North Carolina is stuck. They took a massive swing hiring Bill Belichick. They gave him a 5-year, $50 million contract. They restructured their entire athletic department to accommodate his vision of running things like an NFL team with a GM structure. They bought in completely, but 5 games in, nothing is working. And the problems aren't just on field. Those you can maybe excuse as growing pains. The problems are cultural. They're structural. They're exactly the kind of problems that Belichick spent 24 years in New England making sure never happened. UNC Chancellor Lee Roberts preached patience last week, saying it's not the kind of thing that we judge after 4 games or even after 1 season. These things take time. And look, that's true to an extent. You can't build a program overnight. But here's the thing, Mac Brown went 6-6 last year. He went 6-7 with the bowl game. And yes, he had some bad losses and his record against NC State wasn't great, but at least he was competitive. He won at least 6 games in each of his last 6 seasons. Right now, projections have UNC finishing around 4-8 this season. They still have to play California, Virginia, Syracuse, Wake Forest, and Duke. None of those are gimmies. And based on what we've seen so far, UNC could easily lose all of them. If they finish 4-8, that's not just worse than Mac Brown's last year, it's a complete disaster for a program that hired the greatest coach in NFL history. And with all these stories coming out about dysfunction, divided locker rooms, and toxic culture, that's going to follow them into recruiting season. Every recruit UNC is talking to is going to see these reports. Every parent is going to read about zero communication with families. Every player considering transferring to UNC is going to hear about preferential treatment and lack of accountability. That's devastating for a program trying to build something. And here's what I keep coming back to. Bill Belichick is 73 years old. He doesn't have time to figure this out slowly. He doesn't have 5 years to learn college football. The clock is ticking, and right now, nothing suggests that he's adapting to the differences between the NFL and college. The most disappointing part of all this is it didn't have to be this way. Belichick could have been great at this. His football knowledge is undeniable. His ability to coach one-on-one has been praised even by the sources in this report. He has name recognition that could open any door in recruiting, but he's trying to run a college program like it's the NFL and it's not working. He's letting personal feuds with the Patriots interfere with promoting his own players. He's allowing a divided locker room to fester instead of uniting everyone under one culture. He's not communicating with the families who trusted him with their sons. These aren't X's and O's problems. These are aren't talent problems, these are leadership problems. And for a guy who's built his entire reputation on leadership, that's really hard to watch. Tuesday morning brought even more bad news when Inside Carolina reported that UNC would not be going forward with the Hulu docuseries that was set to follow the team in 2025. Even the documentary about Belichick's first season is getting canceled because things are going so poorly. You can't make this stuff up. The Belichick era at North Carolina was supposed to revolutionize college football. It was supposed to show that an NFL legend could come in and dominate at the college level with pro-style structure and coaching. Instead, 5 games in, it's showing us exactly why so few coaches successfully make the transition from the NFL to college. Can he turn it around? Sure, anything's possible. He's Bill Belichick. He's won 8 Super Bowls. He's one of the greatest football minds in football history. But right now, based on everything we're seeing and everything we're hearing from inside the program, it's not looking good. And oh yeah, and by the way, this is a 20-minute plus video talking about all the issues at North Carolina without even discussing the issues that his 24-year-old girlfriend brings to the table. So if you want to see that, I'm going to leave a link to that in the end screen because that's its own can of worms. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.